Thanks, Patrick, and thanks everyone for joining us today for this webinar. I believe everyone will agree with me if I say that automation in cybersecurity today is not a nice to have, it's a must have. So what happened is that as we started releasing our agents and more recently our agent builder experience, we started getting questions from some of our customers. They wanted to know, when should they use agents? When should they use logic apps? Or when should they use both? So that's the background to this webinar. And therefore our goal today is to provide some clarity around how to make these choices. When are agents or logic apps the better fit? When does combining them offer the most value? So let's get right into it. To start us off, this is the agenda we shall be following. We will begin by taking a quick look at automation in Security Copilot. So what are the options? What are the choices you have there within the ecosystem? We'll then take a closer look at logic apps, how they integrate and complement Security Copilot, and then look at Security Copilot agents, how they bring us intelligence and autonomy into our workflows. We'll then present you with a decision matrix or something that you can use as a framework to make the right choices. And we will do two demos, one focused on the logic apps piece and the other on agents, in particular the agent builder experience. All right. All right, so automation in Security Copilot. You really have three choices here within the ecosystem. So the first is the conditional logic, and this is where logic apps play a prominent role. So bringing that consistency to workflows, and they're also based on predetermined conditions. So for example, providing AI enrichment on a specific Sentinel incident versus all incidents. The second is prompt-based automation. So here what we are doing is we are leveraging the built-in capability of prompt books. And this allows us to chain multiple natural language prompts and create this predefined response playbook. So prompt books, as you might know, they do need to be manually triggered. And this is where now we have this great partnership between logic apps and prompt books, because what can happen is that the logic app can trigger this prompt book on the basis of some condition being met somewhere or on a timer that's scheduled to go off on a recurring basis. And of course, we have the agentic automation, which is where we leverage that intelligence and autonomy to tackle complex tasks, such as phishing is a common one, taking advantage of these new capabilities of the agent being able to reason dynamically, understand, and improve continuously. So if you think about agents, they are able to take in input from the user or the customer and shape its future behavior, which is good because it's continuously learning, it's adapting, and it's being more and more relevant to your specific situation. So that's a good thing, and that's one particular capability that agents bring us.
Yeah,
all right, so
if I can chime in real quick. So there are various different avenues depending on the types of scenarios that you're looking to unlock with automation. Ultimately, Innocent went through three different avenues. The first is conditional logic, where you actually have the if this, then that type of logic, where you can use built-in connectors with logic apps. Prompt-based, which are really meant for human analysts to kind of supercharge their workflows. And once that workflow is kind of concrete, you can actually leverage that same prompt book workflow from within a logic app as well to improve your automation output. And lastly is agentic, and we'll be going into pretty good depth of how to build agents, how they function, and what's available for you to use. So just want to provide that clarity.
Yep, thanks, Shiv. Okay, let's look at how logic apps integrate and complement with Security Copilot. All right. So at the core of the value that logic apps bring to the table is really this breadth of connectors that they have. So 1,400 plus out-of-the-box connectors that literally mean that if you needed to bring in a signal from any of these sources, you can do that. And that means bringing it into Copilot for reasoning. So you see across the entire hybrid spectrum, software as a service, on-prem, cloud, multi-cloud, that is in other clouds as well. So lots of possibilities that Logic Apps bring here and really expand the capability of Security Copilot. On the left side, we also have choices in how you can build. So we have a lot of choices in what you can connect to, but there are also choices as far as how you can build those logic apps. So the first is a visual designer, and I believe you're very familiar with this. The second is a data mapper. This is a capability within logic apps that really makes it very easy to do data transformation. So if you're bringing data from a source system and then you want to send it to a target system, there will be cases that you need to do some transformations of that data so that it makes sense in the target. Now, if you didn't have this data mapper built in, you'd have to probably build some code to do that. So as you can see on the left side, what's happening is we have tools to make it easy for you to get started with building logic apps. The third is a new kid on the block in the platform. It's a workflow assistant. As you might know by now, you cannot escape AI on any of the Microsoft platforms. Logic Apps is no exception. So this is an assistant that helps you build your Logic Apps, gives you that inline AI assistance in real time as you build your Logic Apps. The thing though is that at the moment, it's only available with app service plan, so you can't find it in the consumption plan. That means you would be needing to be building your Logic App with an app service plan to be able to take advantage of this AI assistance. Over on the right, this is for the more advanced capabilities. So if the 1400 out-of-the-box connectors are not enough for you, no problem. You can actually build your own connectors. So pretty much like the custom plugins you might be familiar with in the Security Copilot world, it's also possible to build your own connectors and add to the 1400 plus list. Along with that, you're able to build in code within the connectors. So you can bring in your own custom code. Maybe you want to do something specific. You build a function up and you can embed its code within the flow. So that's possible. Again, just showing you the breadth of possibilities and flexibility that Logic Apps bring. In terms of development experience, again, right side of the screen is focusing on those advanced and pro users. So the environments available, you can use Visual Studio, you can use Visual Studio Code, and also GitHub code spaces. Okay, let's look at a typical flow of how these two would partner. So Logic Apps, it is well known, they do respond to triggers. It could be timers, could be an HTTP request coming in from an Azure service or some other service. And then the next piece is going to be the action. And here you have the complex conditional logics that you can build, if thens, and so on. And then you can also do data transformations. You can do the parsing that typically happens. And then you also now have connectivity to these multiple services, Security Copilot included. And this is how now we are able to submit a prompt or a prompt book to Security Copilot for reasoning. And as an output, we can take that output, use it for further automation downstream. So this is the simple flow of how things go when you're using Logic Apps and Security Copilot. And here are the connectors themselves. So as I say, today you can do two things in terms of connectivity between Logic Apps and Security Copilot. So the direct connectivity is through executing a prompt book from a Logic App or executing a single prompt or multiple individual prompts. The choice is yours, but of course, it is more efficient to submit an entire prompt book. But if you have a need to just submit a single individual prompt, that is also possible with the Logic Apps. And that brings us to our first demo here, which we are gonna transition to real quick. Here we go. All right, so our journey to build this Logic App begins in GitHub. And what we are trying to do here is that we have a pre-built Logic App within our GitHub repo. And what I want to do is to take this Logic App, deploy it. It's going to help me pick out vulnerabilities that have been published by CISA and then run them through Security Copilot, identify any devices that may may be involved within my organizations or the organization that are exposed, and then I want to do something about that. And the next thing I want to do is to create a ticket so that somebody can go out there and fix the problem. Again, I'm lucky enough, I have a second template I can use, because my intention here is that after I've run through that flow, if there be any devices in my environment that are exposed to a certain CVE that's been published, then I can go ahead and use that same logical flow to create a ticket within Jira. And by the way, this is of course something you can do even with other ticket management systems like ServiceNow. Okay, so with that background, let's step through our logic up here real quick. This is one of the triggers, of course. This is a recurrence one, and what's happening here is that we are saying every day at a certain time, run or kick off this logic up. And the first thing it will do is that it's going to pull the CISA website to pick up those vulnerabilities that may be there that affect my organization. So that's the first thing. What I have also taken care to do is to rename the default connectors here. So you might be able to figure out that this is the HTTP trigger, but just to make things more legible and easy to maintain, I am able to rename the connector and specify exactly what I'm doing here. So somebody else that didn't build this logic up can just come and see, okay, I know exactly what's going on here. If I wanted to change something, I know what the implications are. The next step is the pass JSON step. So this is a very common one, very important one, because at the end of the day, you want to have specific items that you want to act on. And also this is what forms the basis of the if and then conditions, and we'll see that in a moment. So it is vitally important to understand how the pass JSON works. Thankfully, it's not that complicated. As you can see here, we are extracting the elements that we are going to need further below. And because there will likely be multiple CVEs, then we have a loop here that is going to loop around and extract those CVEs that are relevant. So here's our first condition, and what's happening here is that we are saying, because this logic up runs on a schedule, so it runs every day, we don't want to get any CVEs that may have been there yesterday or previous days. So this is all that this conditioned operator is doing here, to make sure that we are only picking up whatever is current for the day. And then we are now picking up some additional elements that we are going to need for analysis with Copilot. Once we have that lined up, we now submit our first prompt to Security Copilot. And here it is, targeted at the threat intelligence skill set to give us some insights about the CVs that we picked up from the CISA website. And then here now is where we want to do that correlation between what was picked up and any potential exposure within our environment. We are specifying the session ID here to maintain the context, and we are also explicitly calling out the skill that's needed so that it is more efficient and it's more reliable. And then now, with the information we have, we can connect to our Jira instance. I do have a demo Jira instance here. And again, here now we are picking up from the upstream connectors and the operations that happen there, and we are able to plug them into the parameters that we are going to be sending over to the Jira site. And this one here is another quick function that we built here, and the purpose of it is that we are saying, just as an example, you might want to say, if I get this CVE, I want it to be acted upon as a ticket within 3 days. So that's what is happening here, and it could even get more advanced. So we could add a step here that says, if the severity is greater than X, then act on this within a day or within a couple of hours. So that's the power that logic apps give us. And then here we do have another optional step. You can send it to an email if you chose to. And again, you can pull from the many outputs that have already been generated upstream and add them as you wish and have the email sent out to you. All right, so having done that, we can now go over to Jira and see what happened. So here is my demo Jira instance, and I can see here I have a couple of them. This is the latest. And as you can see, I did get the CVE sent over. The ticket is automatically created. And here is the date that we also auto-generated with a function. So that's what you have with Logic Apps and a Security Copilot in our demo today. I will now get back to the sharing here in a moment and turn it over to my colleague Shiv to do the next piece, which is the Logic App Builder.
Cool. Just to recap, so what you guys saw today with Innocent's demo is a way for you to build a custom Logic App workflow, leveraging components from Security Copilot, like submitting a prompt or submitting a prompt book. Now, obviously, you guys can build your own workflows depending on what the scenario is, and you get a little bit more granular control over the conditions and what the output is. Now, if we are on the PowerPoint deck, let me pull it up. Ines, are you presenting?
Yes, it's shared. Can you see?
I cannot. Okay, give it 1 second.
Or maybe you want to take it over and share?
Yeah, let me do that. Technical difficulties, folks. All right. One second. All right, let's give that a try. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Looks good.
Awesome. Cool. So Security Copilot Agents, what are they? You must have heard the big splash. We launched agents last year, and now we have an ecosystem of agents that can help you with your security and IT operations with autonomous and adaptive automation. So these purpose-built agents for security, they continuously learn from feedback, obviously based on what you configure it for. They dynamically reason and adapt with your team fully in control, and they operate securely within Microsoft's Zero Trust network. Now, what we mean for this is that ultimately, within the Logic App workflows that you saw, you have kind of an if this, then that. You have a very structured workflow. With these agents, they can dynamically plan and leverage AI to learn from what's actually happening within the incidents that you're reviewing or imaging, or the other metadata that you're collecting. And can learn whether something can be malicious or something cannot be malicious. Ultimately, what this gives you is human improved protection. This gives you human in the loop and control, as well as feedback, so that you can leverage some of the Microsoft first-party built-in agents or some from our partner ecosystem. And shortly later, you'll be seeing a demo on how to actually build your own agents. Moving along, we just launched this last week, so you guys should be fairly excited to get visibility into this. If you go into Security Copilot, you can now notice that there's a security store on the left-hand side navigation. This gives you access to a bunch of first and third-party capabilities like agents from a variety of publishers like Microsoft, like MSSPs and ISVs that we work with. The beauty here is that now you can go procure an agent that you might not have built for yourself, but now you can go get one from one of the other existing partners. And then, as if you're an ISV, you can always build your own agents and publish them to the security store as well, to really get you more visibility and drive your business growth, depending on the scenario you're building. Now, last week we also launched, in addition to the security store, we also launched our ability to build an agent using a technology we now know as vibe coding. So this really allows you to start from a natural language intent on what your agent should be doing, the same way you describe it to a colleague or a friend or a toddler. And the Security Copilot platform will actually understand the intent, understand what tools are available for the agent to actually execute on the intent, and will help you craft that agent that works reliably and that allows you to kind of fulfill your scenario. So I'll get into this, and I think this is really cool because this really gives you the flavor of differences between building a workflow that's leveraging logic apps versus one that requires an agent for use case. All right, I will kick this off.
Let's say I need to track unusual remote desktop traffic in my organization. Today, I'll show you how to automate this by building a Security Copilot agent using low-code and no-code tools, starting with vibe coding. Just head to Security Copilot, select Build, and describe your intent in plain language, like you're explaining it to a colleague. Security Copilot's new agent builder understands the intent, crafts instructions to guide my agent, articulates the user input, and browses through tools and capabilities that live in my environment for my agent to use. I can choose from existing tools or build my own. In this case, I can choose to add a tool to my agent. I love that there's so many to choose from. If I'm a pro coder, I can work alongside the build to view the agent YAML manifest so that I can tweak in my ID of choice. Next, I'm going to publish the agent for my own use. Once I test the experience, I can always publish it to others to use. Let's start testing. I'll review everything, provide the necessary inputs like running this agent over the past 7 days of traffic, and hit Run Test. This might take a little bit. I'll be right back with some coffee. That didn't take too long. And the output structure is perfect as I can use this JSON object to automate the workflow further.
This JSON object can also be used within Logic Apps if you so choose to use it there or in your other.
Now let's go view what the agent did. At the bottom, I see a little summary of key findings that this indicates that this week is clean. Now let's see the activity map so we can double check the workflow. All good here. Today, you saw how to build, test, and validate your agent development. Next, you can publish it for others to use if you find value from it. Let's say I need a
Cool. So what you just saw was the low-code, no-code builder within Security Copilot. If you navigate to Security Copilot and go to the build section, you'll see kind of a prompt bar where you're actually able to articulate the scenario that you're looking to solve. And based on the kind of tools and capabilities that are in your environment, like the various different plugins that you've enabled, the agents that you've configured, and any other sources, it can actually select from those to actually build out an agent plan, instructions, the right tools to call, as well as when to collect user input and when to not. This is just one example. There's obviously pro code ways to develop these things. At the end of this deck, you'll see, or at the end of this presentation, you'll see a link source where we built out very, very robust documentation on how to build agents from scratch, how to plan them, how to develop them, and how to publish and test them. So we're really excited for you guys to leverage this. Now, we called out, you can use both of these technologies to really help, your security analysts, your IT admins to, elaborate on their scenarios that they're doing manually maybe today. So I'd like to clarify when to use which platform. So we have two, right? We have Security Copilot Agents. We have a focus there. We have strengths, integrations, triggers, flexibility, adaptability, and personas. And for both of these kind of side by side, if you are evaluating when to use one or the other or both, these will help you kind of articulate the, excuse me, the attributes that are needed. So for Security Copilot Agents, the focus is really complex AI-driven workflows where you really need some more complex reasoning. The strength is really the context, then the enrichments that can be provided from AI, as well as the insights and security automation. One of the other strengths I'd also call out is that we have a variety of different security integrations that allow you to access information from beyond just Microsoft technologies, whether they're third-party technologies or technologies that you trust. You can always build capabilities to your trusted sources. Now, on the trigger front, with agents and with Logic App workflows, you always need to trigger these things, right? And so within Security Copilots, you have the ability to trigger it within Security Copilot. You can also trigger it, as you saw in the demo video, based on a prompt or time-based. So you can say this agent needs to run every day, every 24 hours, or every 12 hours. Next on the flexibility. So this is the flexibility of the AI, the Security Copilot agents is limited to what's built into the agent. And obviously, when you're taking these agents from Security Store or from the built-in capabilities, they're based on what the agent developers really designed it to do. However, with the agent builder experience, now you as a developer, as an analyst, can actually leverage and build your own agent, and you can make sure that it's a little bit more flexible to the scenarios, to the tools that you want to use for the scenario. And then adaptability, the workflow benefits significantly from continuous adaptation from customer input. So like if a specific run went great, the workflow can learn from that. And if a specific run did not, it can improve itself to make sure that the workflow runs better the next time around. Now, the persona for these agents are really a variety of different personas. I think various analyst personas can use these given how easy it is to build them. And ultimately, we have multiple different avenues. We have pro code, low code, and no code. You saw some examples across the board today. When you look at our documentation, you'll see how pro code users can also leverage these same capabilities. Now, to switch over to the Logic App lens, Innocent, do you want to chime in, or do you want me to do this?
Let's go ahead.
Cool. So the focus is ultimately Logic Apps works beyond just security. So there's general integration workflows that make it really valuable. So examples are like the Teams connector, the Outlook connectors, the other non-Microsoft and non-security technologies that already have pre-built connectors for Security Copilot or for Logic Apps that can be worked alongside the Security Copilot connector. The strength really comes into in my opinion, the drag and drop experiences as well as the multi-system orchestration. This allows you to kind of manage the workflow from various different systems to build a holistic workflow that somebody can actually use in your environment. The integrations, we have many integrations within Logic Apps. I believe last time we checked it was like 1,400 plus. And these also allow you to integrate with on-premise solutions as well as SaaS solutions. And then if one of the connectors that you're looking for is not available, you can always build your own, similar to with Security Copilot Agents, how you can build your own plugins and skills. Next, on the triggering, so Logic Apps gets triggered outside of the context of Security Copilot. So you can trigger it via a webhook, via another system of source, or your on-premise services. So really anything can trigger the Logic App workflow depending on how you design it. And this is really good for flexibility reasons because this allows you to build a workflow that can be triggered from your system or your SaaS solution or from the workflow itself based on time-based or things like that. Flexibility, I believe, having the drag and drop ability and the ability to test them in line within the editor of Logic Apps really offers great flexibility. And ultimately, you have visibility into exactly what the workflow is doing, as well as how to change it for your environment. As you saw from Innocent was able to take two workflows. And both of these are published on our public GitHub, which you'll see at the end. And he was able to take two different workflows compile them together for his specific use case. So the first one was the latest CISA vulnerabilities, which reaches out to CISA, gets the latest vulnerabilities, and then also there's a Jira connection with Logic Apps, and he was able to take that workflow and kind of compile it together in a way that allows him to go to a CISA, gather the latest vulnerabilities, go to Security Copilot, enrich them using prompts, direct skills, or prompt books. And then in addition to that, he was also able to kind of create a Jira ticket and notify the user over email. So ultimately, the end-to-end workflow there was super robust and something that a customer would actually use. Adaptability. So this is where Logic Apps and agents really differ, I would say. Within Logic Apps, you have more of that consistency, the execution consistency. So you really want to make sure that the workflow that you're building, has good test cases, has been executed multiple times, and follows your workflow. Whereas with Security Copilot Agents, there can be variability, and that's sometimes a good thing in a strong suit because the workflow can benefit from this continuous adaptation. And then lastly, on the personas, you saw, Innocent use the drag and drop, as well as there's pro code mechanisms for you to build Logic App workflows. And there's a myriad of different starter templates for you to work with, starting from our GitHub repository, as well as from others like Sentinel and other tools. Innocent, do you want to chime in real quick?
Well, yeah, just as Shiva said, it's really a combination of taking advantage of the strengths of each, especially now that we have the agent builder platform. That means you have more flexibility to build your own agents and be able to combine them with logicals, possibly more than you could with built-in agents. So just expanding the range of possibilities of how you can bring together these automation strategies to improve your workflows.
And we're not done yet. We have a lot more to go. So resources, thank you guys for joining our session today. We hope this was very, very useful. If you haven't already, please join our customer connection program. You'll get more insights and readily available webinars for us to go a little bit deeper into. The first thing I really want to share is our GitHub repo. So this really allows you to visualize various Logic App workflows, plugins, and capabilities that allow you to learn from one another that are in the community, right? Those folks and those customers that are building these workflows, you guys can start taking these as a starting step to building these workflows for your environment. Next, in the Adoption Hub, we have a variety of different videos and documentation on how to actually adopt Security Copilot. A lot of my good friends that I work with, as well as Innocent's friends, we've done a pretty decent job at sharing, how can customers get the most advantage out of this new, AI-driven workflows with Security Copilot. Next up is our Community Hub. If you guys aren't already plugged into that, please do. Our customer connection program, I've already plugged it once, but I'll plug it again. I think this is super, super critical, especially if you're starting your journey on, adopting Security Copilot or seeing evaluating how it can work for your environment. And then lastly, we have these robust agent development docs. I will share these just because I think that they're super, super awesome. So starting with, if you look on the left-hand side, you'll see, what's Security Copilot, what are agents, the agent development overview, planning your agent. So, what are the use cases for using agents? What are the components, the cost considerations, and how to plan and design your agent? How to build it. I showed you some of these mechanisms, but you can build the agents, in standalone, which I went through today. You can start by using natural language, or you can use the agent builder form. Or if you're a pro code, you can actually just start with the YAML, and you can upload that YAML and start ideating directly within the standalone experience. We also recently released our MCP capability, so now you can actually build an agent using Model Context Provider within your IDE of choice, like Visual Studio. And then you can obviously extend your agents with tools. So you can either leverage the built-in tools that I walked through from a variety of different first and third-party sources, or you can create your own tools. And we have a bunch of different samples for how to create API tools, so this can fetch information from direct APIs, GPT tools, so this can actually leverage a model to either come up with data or structure things in a certain way. And then you can add multiple tools as well. Next is testing your agent. So you walk through what I shared today on how to test your agent, make sure that it works robustly and is scalable for your workflows. And then you can get into publishing your agent. So you publish it to yourself to make sure that you validated what you've built, and then publish it to others in your organization upon admin approval to make sure that others can also leverage this stuff as well. And then if you're interested in how to use prompt books and plugins, there's a bunch of different sources here as well that can help you with this. Cool. And then one more plug I'm going to make is for our GitHub repo. So here, you have the public GitHub repository, and we have a myriad of different sources. So we have Logic App workflows, which Innocent walked through a little bit on how to get started. Like there's examples of how to send prompt book results by email, send a summary to Jira, dynamic Sentinel incident investigation. This workflow is really awesome. Is user traveling? I just want to drill a little bit deeper into this. This one, where you can all imagine where customers get a lot of travel notifications that their employees are traveling. And so this workflow, you can deploy it as easily as clicking this button. But what it does, it actually sends an approval email to the manager and runs specific commands and conditions on is this user actually traveling? And if the user selects true, you can respond with a corresponding workflow. And if the user selects false, you can respond with a different workflow. So this really helps you extend Security Copilot beyond just security scenarios. Now, that was on Logic Apps. We also have various plugins which can be used as tools. These start from the community-based ones as well as those that we've published. Feel free to peruse yourselves within these resources. Okay, back to this. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. We do have a lot of time for some Q&A. So I have some questions I pulled from the chat that might be interesting discussion topics to further expand upon. Someone asked, do agents have the capability to enrich security incidents like Logic Apps? And if so, how do agents assist in enriching incidents?
Absolutely. I love that question because that's such a common scenario for analysts, right? And that's actually a real good use case of using either some kind of automation, whether it's conditional logic automation or agentic automation. So there's a variety of first and third party and community driven agents that are built into Security Copilot. I linked those in the chat. So we also naturally, if you don't find your scenario there, you can build your own using that low code experience or no code experience that I called out. And I would start with something as simple as a prompt. First, you want to make sure that the tools that you want to use are readily available to that environment. And once they are, like if you want to use Sentinel or Defender incident enrichment, and then you want to find out what kind of sources do you want to enrich within that. The cool thing about agents is it can really understand the incidents and whether these incidents are actually have IOCs and what kind of IOCs. And depending on the structure of the IOCs, whether it's an IP address, a URL, a file hash, you can actually extract the relevant information using that agent and call your subsequent tools based on what you found in that incident. So this really helps you extend that enrichment further, workflow a little bit further. If you want to get started, you can probably start with a prompt like, help me build an agent to enrich my Sentinel incidents. Make sure that you walk through the workflow builder and visualize the capabilities that it's performing and go through the testing and publishing experience. I hope that helps.
No, that's great. It's an awesome answer. There was another question I saw that I thought was interesting as well. When does it make sense to use a Logic app versus a Security Copilot agent versus a SOAR solution? And is there a decision tree that can help you make that decision?
I don't think we've built one beyond what Shiv just showed you, but to answer that directly, if you think about Logic Apps and SOAR, they are kind of on one side of the fence. So they are response and automation tools. And then they go a step further and do integration. So as you saw from the previous slides, 1,400 connectors for Logic Apps, and they're really meant to do rule-based responses. So you can't really compare those two with Copilot because Copilot is in a class of AI-based systems. So if you think about what Copilot will do is that it will reason over alerts incidents or security data and then provide you with some response. That is something a logic app cannot do unless, of course, you build this extremely complex logic app, and I don't think it will ever get to the class of an LLM-powered system. So the issue is partly what we were trying to do with the webinar here, to say that when do you use those? Ideally, it is a combination of. It's not either or, it's a combination of. So that ability to say, I am going to kick off a Copilot prompt or a kick off a flow using a logic app, part of it will include or involve submitting a prompt to a large language model, in this case, Security Copilot, and then getting that response. And then on the basis of that response, I can do other things. I can take action. Like you saw, we took an action of going to open a ticket in a third-party system. So that piece of opening the ticket is not AI at all. That is really the orchestration and automation piece. It doesn't have a lot of AI, but it was depending on the output of AI that was in the previous steps, was executed in the previous steps. So that's a partnership that they have, but it's not an either or when you're thinking about AI versus automation or SOAR solutions.
Great, thanks. Another question just popped up. Can agents be integrated with Defender?
Well, I think if I can assume what that question means is that you're a third party, you want to build your own agent to integrate into Defender. I don't think that is possible yet because the API hasn't been published for that. So that at the moment is not yet possible unless you're a first party team or product group within Microsoft.
Yeah, if I could get a little bit more clarity on that scenario, whoever asked that question, if you just want to put another comment on what your exact scenario with Defender is, because they're available as built-in tools in Security Copilot, you can probably build your own agents for your environment. If there's a little bit more deeper, I'd love to understand what you're trying to build.
I'll keep an eye out for a follow-up to that. Next question, do the Security Copilot agents show up as agent ID apps in Intra?
Not yet,
Not
but
yet.
we are almost there. Almost there. Hang on.
Yep.
All right. Trying to see if there's any other interesting questions. Someone just asked, is this available in GCC? Answered this earlier in the chat. We are not yet certified for GCC, but it is in progress. I see there's some responses happening to this question. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about some of that verification process of how Microsoft will validate the security of agents published by third parties on the security store.
Yes,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So we definitely do some validations on ensuring that the agents that are built are following our protocols and our metadata and schema. And there's also a manual validation that we perform, and we have our partners do some extensive testing on those solutions as well before they're made available in the security store.
Great, thanks. Trying to see. Oh, this is a good one. Can a logic app call a Security Copilot agent?
Coming soon, guys. I know you're not NDA, but yeah, coming soon. That's all I can say.
There's in the Q&A, don't forget there is a link to join our private communities in case you are interested in seeing some of that future roadmap under an NDA. There's a follow-up on the integration with Defender Suite. Can we use agents to action like isolate machines, suspend account, and email line manager, etc.?
Love it. All I can say is coming soon.
One more plug for the private community.
Yep. Please join the private community so I can talk a little bit more about it.
I think this is probably a good time to wrap this up. We're a little bit early, but I think we've covered a lot of good topics today. So thank you, Innocent. Thank you, Shiv, for being our host today and sharing all this wonderful information with the community. To all the listeners who are still on the line, if you are someone who wishes to further your knowledge in this area, don't forget to sign up at aka.ms/securitycommunity. Join the email list to get notifications of all of these great presentations that are going to be going around over the next few months. Don't forget our private community, which we've already plugged a couple of times, aka.ms/join-community, which is a NDA'd community, so you can have more direct visibility into the roadmap, private preview features, all that kind of stuff like that. So I just want to thank everybody again for being here. Thanks for joining on this webinar, and we hope to see you next week, for the next Security Copilot session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
folks.